Summer's here, your calendar says rest, your out of office reply is on, and technically you're off. But you're still checking emails at dinner, still skimming Slack notifications from the pool. You're still holding on to that one lingering task just in case. And you might be physically away from work, but mentally you never really left. And that's what we need to talk about today. But before we start, for those of you new to my world, hello, I'm 𝗍𝗂'𝗿𝗃, self-care strategist, founder of Her Extraordinary Life by Design, and creator of the Yes Reset Method, my 3-step system I use to help high-achieving women like you set up a life you don't need a vacation from so you can grow a business you love with less guilt and more freedom. Now, if you've ever found yourself craving rest, but you feel uneasy the moment you step away, you are not alone. Because what's draining you isn't just the number of hours you're working, it's the invisible pressure to stay emotionally on call, even when no one's asking you to. That kind of availability doesn't show up in your schedule, but it does show up in your bandwidth, in the tightness in your chest when you try to relax, in the tension you carry when the notifications stop, and in the guilt that creeps in the moment you try to unplug. You might not be overbooked, but you're still emotionally overcommitted. And that's what keeps your nervous system stuck in what I call invisible readiness, because you're not technically working, but your system is still bracing, still scanning, still available. So you might close your laptop, but your Slack is still open on your phone, just in case someone messages you. You put your phone face down, but you don't turn off notifications, so every ding pulls your attention back to work. You tell your team you're off for the afternoon, but you're still checking your inbox while enjoying your afternoon latte, just in case something urgent comes through. And even though no one's asking for anything specific, you start to feel guilty that it's been a few hours since you responded, as if your silence might somehow look like you don't care. You think it's the workload, but actually it's the pressure to be reachable, even when you're supposed to be off. This isn't just overcommitment, it's over availability. And it's burning through your bandwidth emotionally and energetically, especially in the moments that were meant to refill you. Your nervous system, it doesn't know the difference between real urgency and self-imposed readiness. Because every time you just check one more thing while you're technically off, you're reinforcing the loop that says it's not safe to fully unplug. And that's not sustainable, because when your nervous system keeps getting the signal that it's not okay to stop, no amount of time off will restore you. And summer triggers this in a whole new way, doesn't it? Because even though you plan ahead, you wrap up loose ends, and you write the autoresponder to tell everyone that you'll be away, it starts, meaning that familiar flutter in your chest, like you're forgetting something, which has you glancing at your phone more often. And you start mentally reviewing what you hope isn't falling apart. Because even though the trip is booked and technically everything's handled, right? Your body hasn't gotten the message that you're out of office because your nervous system is still standing in the doorway just in case something happens or just in case someone needs you. So you keep holding space for your clients, for responsibilities, and for invisible fires that might pop up. And it's not always because anyone is asking you to be available, but because you've trained yourself to believe that stepping away completely is dangerous. That if you don't stay one step ahead, you'll come back to something broken, or worse, something that makes you feel like you dropped the ball. So now, instead of feeling restored, you feel tense, like rest is a risk you can't afford. And that's when it hits you. It's not the time away that's the problem. It's the guilt you pack with you, the pressure to stay available, the fear of what you'll come back to if you actually let yourself check out. So it's not that I'm trying to be the bearer of bad news, but I want to paint this picture for you, because if this is what you're doing, keeping your nervous system always on high alert, never allowing yourself to actually step away without checking the messages, without checking Slack, without being on call emotionally, you're never going to feel that sense of calm and feel good about living the life that you're living because you're not allowing yourself to do that. So here's what I want you to consider. You can't fully reset your bandwidth in a space where you don't feel safe being unavailable. So if rest feels itchy, if presence feels out of reach, if even joyful moments come with background noise in your mind, it's not because you don't know how to take time off. It's not because you're not grateful for the life that you're living and actually being able to set aside time for yourself. And it's not even because there's so much to do. It's because somewhere along the line, you've learned that being off might mean that something gets missed, that if you step away too fully, you might come back to regret. That tension isn't a character flaw. It's a sign that your system has been operating in default availability mode for too long. And that kind of always on wiring, it doesn't just shut off just because the calendar says vacation or break time or time to shut down for the day. That's why even when you're away, you don't feel away. But it doesn't have to stay like this, okay? You can relearn what it means to step away without guilt and to be fully present without checking in, to rest, not as a reward for being productive, but as a necessary part of staying whole. So maybe the question isn't, how do I stop being so responsive? But more like the real question is, what am I saying yes to that's keeping me from fully being here, present in what I'm doing, the time off, the 3-day vacation, the week away with my family, or even just taking time for yourself? And that's where the 3-question yes filter can help you. Asking yourself 3 questions. Are you saying yes to overriding your well-being? And will that serve the bigger picture of rest and relaxation? Are you saying yes out of guilt, fear, or obligation? And of course, what will you be trading for saying yes to overriding your needs? Checking in with yourself is so important, not in the way of adding more to your to-do list, but to actually give yourself a way back to presence that doesn't require guilt or explanation. Because sometimes it's not about doing less. Sometimes it's not about what's going on around you that's keeping you believing that you have to always be on. It's more about learning to trust that you deserve boundaries, that your energy deserves boundaries, that you deserve that time off, even when nothing's on fire, right? Especially when nothing's on fire. Because if nothing's going on and you're the one that's keeping yourself in the loop when you're supposed to be in downtime, time off, time with family, time with friends, enjoying time for yourself, that's important. But if you're always on, you're never going to allow yourself to actually enjoy the life that you're building. So I want you to let that land for just a minute and really let that sink in. Again, you want to be able to ask yourself, what would it feel like to take the weekend off or to step away from work on time for once without carrying the mental weight of everything you've stepped away from? That's where the reset begins. Now, if this sounds like you, if summer is supposed to feel light, spacious, and restorative, but instead it's feeling more like a slow bleed of your bandwidth, then I want you to stay close because over the next couple of weeks, I am going to be diving deeper into this, not from a productivity lens, but from a bandwidth protection lens. One that honors how you actually feel when you try to unplug and why presence doesn't always feel safe, even when you want it to. So if this hit home for you and you've been craving a break, but you can't seem to feel off even when you are off, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or send me a message. You'll find my email in the About section. I am really listening. I am here for you. I'm listening and I really would love to know. So the question I have for you is, when do you feel most on, even when your world around you says it's your time to rest? Okay. Before we go, if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss what's coming next. And take care of you, and I'll see you soon.